Got this up, running, idling, all that good stuff yesterday. Got the fueling straight at idle. So today we got to see if it wants to cold start at all. Since it's running 85 and it stinks, I'm just going to push the front end outside first before I just make it all nasty in here all day long. Moment of truth. So this did come in running, but cold start, it would crank for a really, really long time, and then it would surge like crazy and shut off until it would warm all the way up. So hopefully, first stab at it will be better than it was anyways. Park. All of the surging went away. That's awesome. All right, we still do need a little bit of after start enrichment, so I'll make those changes now, get it set up on the dyno, and try and make some power. So I'm pretty happy with the way it cold starts, and I got the after start enrichment and the coolant based enrichment all sorted out as it warmed up. And once it was warmed up, the cranking fuel needed a little bit of adjustment, and I think we got it where it's good now. Let's try it for the 100th time. Can't ask for much more than that.
Nice.
So now that we got it idling good, the $1 million question is, will it be an asshole when I put it into gear? Neutral, first gear. Neutral, first gear. All right, I can work with that. I think we're ready to start driving this thing. This car has Injector Dynamics 2000cc injectors in it. And even though they're expensive, they're just so nice. It's like a Cadillac of injectors compared to a lot of the other stuff out on the market. It actually does what you tell it to do, which can't say the same for a lot of other things out there. So it's actually been several hours since I last pushed record on the camera. I made one pull. Everything was going so smooth. Part throttle just did exactly what I told it to. Got through it real quick. Made one full throttle pull. This is like, I don't know, 4 pounds of boost or something like that. And even on the first run, within like 2 or 3%, I thought we were going to be smooth sailing. So we have a fuel pressure sensor on this car, and it has 2 MagnaFuel 750 pumps, and obviously at this power level, 1 is plenty. But fuel pressure looked fine in the log, but I didn't personally check that the second fuel pump was working. So I decided to actually go through that whole process, verify it was working, and sure enough, it wasn't. So I've been chasing wiring and doing all sorts of stuff with that. Finally got all that fixed, straightened out, and I was like, well, while I'm at it, let me check the boost control and, you know, set up all our PID garbage. And this is the Terminator X, and our solenoids are just grounded, so that's not going to work. So now I got to rewire the boost control solenoids, and I got to take my daughter somewhere this evening. So now this is one-day dyno session is going to turn into a 2-day, and I'm going to have to push everything else back that's coming. And this is why scheduling dyno appointments is so hard. Usually try not to let these cars get the best of me, but now we've developed a fuel leak, and turning the boost up 10 pounds of dome pressure actually lost like 20 or 30 horsepower. So pulling the dome pressure back out of it, it's down like 80 horsepower from where it was just on gate, 5 pounds or whatever. And it hasn't been turned up enough to hurt it or anything like that. So I don't know if we're dealing with a coil or an injector or a wire, spark plug. And now all the four-wheeler guys are out, and it's pretty late in the day. I'm either gonna go up to the roof and jump off and land on my neck, or I think I'm just gonna call it quits, go home for the day, and we'll try again. I'm all booked tomorrow, and then it's the weekend, so maybe we'll try this again first of the week. This sucks. LS turbo notchback on Holley. 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 This car has fought me every step of the way, starting to even scheduling to get it here. And this is the second day having it on the dyno. I've done a bunch of repairs, a bunch of diagnostic stuff, a bunch of this, a bunch of that. I think I finally got it working like a normal car again. Just threw a little bit of dome pressure at it, and we're gonna actually see if we fixed it and we can actually move forward. I'm hoping and praying that this thing will finally cooperate and we can actually start tuning rather than troubleshooting. It's a clean car with some good parts. I was actually looking forward to having a little bit of fun with this one, but up to this point it hasn't been fun in any way, shape, or form. Actually started off okay. Got it up and running, idling, and had it overnight for a couple days so I could work on the cold start and all that good stuff. And cold start even this morning like $1,000,000. But from there, everything kind of went south. It hasn't been an easy one, but we got a little bit of dome pressure on this one. So let's see what happens. This will be the moment of truth, I guess. Starts up real nice. $8:07. I think we can actually move forward now. And if I had some beer here, I'd open one to celebrate. The boost controller and the converter don't want to play nice together. I'm going to actually speed the dyno run up a little bit. Boost control is rock solid though. Once we get past where the converter grabs it, need a little tip-in fuel. Converter just flashes to the moon. We're within like 1 or 2%, with the exception of right where the converter grabs a hold of it. But I'm going to manipulate the dyno before I go crazy with this. The power of this boost level is acceptable, but doesn't get me jumping for joy. So we'll probably try a little bit of timing. I keep forgetting until I'm stuck in a car on the dyno backwards that I need to get some sort of a like mobile monitor so I don't have to snap my spine in half to look at that graph, and then connecting that computer to this computer and screen sharing, it's just too much of a hassle. But anyways, this run, clean up a little fueling, some acceleration enrichment, a little bit of timing, but the biggest difference is just some dyno settings to try and get the boost control a little more reasonable since this converter seems to be a little bit weird. Let's give it a shot. Doesn't look like it picked up much of anything, so I'm going to review the logs, make sure that they actually accepted the timing. I did do it through a custom table, and I kind of don't remember if I cycled the key or not. We'll verify that works. If it didn't, we'll pull that back out and we'll just start turning the boost up again. Yeah, so I'm a moron. The timing was exactly the same. Boost control is actually a lot better with the different dyno settings. A lot of times just when everything ramps up and everything just tries to grab, all dyno's trying to grab, converter's trying to grab, everything's trying to do everything all at the same time. Sometimes it can make the boost come up and then come back down and stabilize. And considering changing the dyno settings, fix that by 60%. I think that's all that we're really dealing with there, because boost control is rock solid after that. So I'm going to change my curve a little bit, and we'll actually try and do it without my stupid ass forgetting to cycle the key so our custom table will work. So this is a new one. The custom table that I just made is it doesn't exist anymore. So I don't even quite understand how that's possible. I'm going to re-download it from the ECU. Yeah, it's just totally gone. How the hell does that happen?
Holy shit, a ghost.
Ooh. I'm going to try this again, and before I make a run, I'm actually going to verify that everything is working. Please hold. Way better. I picked up almost 50 horsepower with 2 degrees of timing. You could actually see it in the log that it needed more timing. Oh man. My daughter's been sick, and I thought maybe I was in the clear because she's better now, but just in the last hour, maybe 2 hours, have gone downhill, and I feel like I got it now. Ugh, I really don't feel like getting sick. So overlaying the 2 data logs on top of each other, it's actually kind of wild watching how much it like the timing. I should probably put another couple degrees in it, but we have enough turbo on this to make what we need to make power wise without having to get aggressive with timing. So I'm gonna leave that there for now. Ah, damn it. So just a little bit more fuel tweaking and a little bit more dome pressure on this one. Sounded a little peppier. Oh, that's just messed up. 981. Kind of crazy to think that this thing went so south. Last time it was on the dyno, I had the plugs out of it, did a compression check, and now we're about to make 1,000 horsepower. I'm gonna check out the log, see if we're gonna make that 1,000 with timing or with more boost. Graph's nice and clean. It looks like it wants to rev high, but that's due to boost control. So basically the boost over in here is kind of wanting to creep up when everything grabs it, and then it's kind of progressively coming up from there in an attempt to try to bring it down here. So that looks a little bit misleading. So actually I've pulled some timing out here since the last run. I'm still undecided if I'm going boost or timing. Let me figure it out. Boost is actually lower than I thought. We're only at like 22 pounds, so we're just going to turn the boost up. Theoretically, we should still be able to make a little bit more power. Alright, let's see what we got. I wish it was a quick, easy test to just change the converter for the dyno. That'd be nice. Looks like dome pressure went up, but manifold pressure didn't go up any. That's kind of weird. Let's overlay it with the last one. Fueling's right on the money. About 50% duty cycle. I don't know. Maybe we're just at that spot where we need a little bit more dome pressure to do what we want it to do. Oh man, I think I'm gonna die. Sounded like it started misfiring. If that's the case, we're gonna be done. Let's take a look. So everything checks out. Just a good old-fashioned push on the spark plug bars, make sure they're okay. But really the only thing I see making a difference is I just raised the boost cuts. Well, turn them off altogether rather. We weren't at them yet, but the logging on Terminator X can be a little slow, so maybe we were flirting with the boost cut. Even still, it was just set to revert to wastegate, not ignition cut, so I don't know. I don't really have my hopes up on this, but I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed that maybe it was just a fluke or something. Been through too much with this thing for it to not end all the way completed. Then it's gonna feel like everything was for nothing. This isn't just a normal misfire. This is so bad it looks like it's like trying to shut the engine off and then it tries to come back. Dig through this a little bit more, see if I see anything. Everything in the log checks out fine. Everything I can see under the hood checks out fine. The way it looks like it's typical of like what you would see with like a loose connection, like battery powers like dropping and coming back or something like that. But I just tried a couple of Hail Mary things here and it's getting pretty late, so I say this about 50 times per car, but this will probably be the last run. So I don't know if you could hear that, but that was a mechanical clunk, like the drive shaft was trying to come out of it. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with this one. This is a new situation altogether. So I don't really want to make any more runs on this thing because at this point it kind of scares me. I didn't really like the way that sounded at all. But again, checked over everything. I don't see anything wrong. So I think just simply for the sake of helping them with troubleshooting, I turned the boost back down. So now we'll see if it's something that's either, you know, happening as the boost / power goes up, or if it's just a new problem that's kind of popped up altogether. Let's see what happens. That's even more confusing. It did it just a little bit, but then it cleared away and it made 993. So it's definitely happening with boost or power. What in the hell is happening? So bringing the boost back down helped tremendously. So I actually brought it down a little bit more and then ramped it, not quite as high as I had it before, but up a little bit, like once we get past that point. At this point, I just want to try and help them with the diagnostic process, because if I just tell them, hey, at 35 pounds of dome pressure, it freaks out, it's going to be really difficult for them to troubleshoot that, because this thing's just going to spin the tires basically anywhere other than a hub dyno. Sometimes it's all about just making the best of what you're presented. So brought the boost in significantly later, and then the problem started once the boost rose up. So it's 100% boost related. Plug gap's plenty tight, plugs are new, wires are new. Man, talk about frustrating. Maybe we'll bring the boost back down and try a little bit of timing. It's already making more power than I think he was planning on running it at, so maybe they just won't bring the boost up that high. I still need to address it, but tell you what, man, nothing is ever easy. So these coils actually look brand spanking new. And here's just how like violently the thing wanted to shut itself down once it hit that boost level. So if it hit the boost level here, this was what it would do, you know, here. If you move the boost out over here, then it would do the same thing out here. So it just following the boost level 100%. Less boost, more timing. Which now is even more confusing because there's no way I put enough timing in it to pick up that much. Closed loops 3% at the highest. The boost did go up. I revved it a little bit higher, so the boost went up almost 2 psi, like 1.8. Oh yeah, and the RPM helped. Between the boost and the RPM, it made peak power higher, so that's where all that additional power came from. So it wasn't the timing, but we're still going to overlay it and take a look. I didn't do any screen recordings for this one. I'm worn the hell out on this car and I'm sick, so sorry about that. But let's take a look at the graph real quick. Looks like it wants to just keep revving to the moon. This RPM is off a little bit because this is mechanical, it's calculated, and this converter is doing all kinds of weird stuff. So that's closer to 7,000 RPM. Here's the earlier run, so there's more timing out here, but then the boost is also progressively ramping up with RPM too. So it's not really a fair comparison out here, but either way, given how much of a kind of worst case scenario this whole kind of dyno thing has been over the course of multiple days, to get it up over 1,000 horsepower is pretty solid. I do think there's another, I don't know, 200, maybe 300 horsepower on the table if we really leaned on it. But at the end of the day, this is the best I could do with what I have to work with. So we're gonna call this one good here. And I'm gonna go home and die. So I'll see you next time, maybe.